Hi, I'm Ashley Adamson, and welcome to another episode of Tea Time. So, we're going to cover probably one of the more interesting meta questions that was requested by my patrons. Thank you all for supporting me and also voting for this. This I titled, Being the Answer to Your Own Question. Quite an interesting framing, wouldn't you say? What does that even mean? I came up with this thought the other day when I realized that no one's ever going to give me what I need, and I'm never ever going to be able to get that. Now, that doesn't sound entirely groundbreaking. You've probably heard that before, and it wasn't the first time that I've heard or thought or felt or even realized that. But I think as personal development goes, and let me know what you think, but it's this onion. It's this onion analogy. You peel back the layers, and as you peel back these layers, a new layer comes up, and it feels like it's the same thing, but it's the same. It is the same thing, but it's on a deeper level. You know, it's deeper this time because you can address something slightly different and find that little tweak or change. I always find personal growth and development, and especially a transition, wherever you are in your transition, you may relate to this, that when you revisit these topics, you slowly evolve and you slowly tweak, and these little neurons in your brain start to recalibrate. You start to re-understand who you are. And that gives you this ability to feel like you're taking steps forward. You're evolving. You're feeling refreshed in who you are, and you're feeling like there's this next step. Do you know what I mean? So, being the answer. I want to tell you a story first. So, last night I had this experience of feeling lonely. I was watching a movie, and there was just some really cute guys. And I thought to myself, gosh, like, I feel like I am a valid woman. I feel like I'm attractive enough that I can have a cute guy of my own. And I would like to have this person snuggling up next to me and being kind of there. And I think there will be a future in which that will happen, but that's not right now. And there's no one who's like potentially been filling that gap. And so this sense of loneliness crept up. Have you ever had that experience where you kind of like saw something that jogged or triggered a thought about how you would like to not be lonely or feel more fulfilled or have something that you see out there, some kind of act of comparison, I suppose, and then suddenly you feel less happy because you don't have that and you want it. For me, it was a desire for company, but when you look past the desire for company, it's really something deeper. You know, people may have even said this to you about what you're trying to seek, which is maybe like love or validation or something that just makes you feel more safe. So for me, I had to look at myself for a second and said, hang on a minute. You want attention, you want love, you want connection. Why can't I give that to you? Why can't I be the person to give it to you? And I thought to myself, yeah, sure, why not? And so I felt a sudden presence within me of showing up for myself, of activating a way of stepping in and stepping up to the part of me that was witnessing being alone, and the part of me that was feeling being alone, and that sadness and sort of that emptiness, and this other part kind of stepping in and showing up for that part. This is very hard to describe because it's this nuanced way of perceiving and experiencing the self. I don't know if you've ever had this, but have you ever felt like you've had competing voices? Like one part of you wants to do something and the other part of you actually wants to do the exact opposite? I am an introvert extrovert, and I get this a lot when it's one part of me that wants to go out and socialize, and the other part of me that just wants to stay in and not socialize. And this friction is often the part where I'm like, what's going on here? But the part of me in that story was feeling alone and feeling like she wanted connection and attention and feeling of lack. Now, I realized that there's another part of me that can actually show up for this version of me and to give that version of me attention and the love that it's seeking in the present moment. And that's super important, is showing up in the present moment for that feeling. Not like, oh, like I'll take care of you later or we'll do something. No. Show up for that feeling right now as that other part of you. And it feels a little odd at first because you can feel the emergence of some other persona of yourself showing up. And you go, whoa, like that's a more confident version of me. That's a more powerful version of me. That's someone that actually loves me. And I can receive that as this lesser version of myself. And by receiving that, I enable myself to grow, to feel a stronger sense of self-resilience and self-worth in this process. So that's sort of the experience that I went through last night. And that's kind of this concept that I'm going to continue to talk about in this video, is being the answer. That was my answer to this loneliness. This is the second part, which is creating a practice in being the answer to whatever your desire is super important, because if you always feel like you have this question of, is someone ever going to love me? Am I going to find company? Am I ever going to have the confidence to do something? All of these things have this root beyond the question that goes one layer deeper, which is this sense of scarcity or this sense of not being enough. And that part of you that feels that needs to have something or someone show up to resolve that. And if you externally rely on that, you are always in a position of disempowerment and you'll never fully resolve that issue. I'll say that again. If you are in a sense of feeling like you need someone else to fulfill the part of you that feels lack, feels scarcity, feels not enough, you will never resolve that issue. Because if you find someone that can resolve and fill that void, life is temporary. That person will eventually die. That person will eventually not be around you because you're not chained together 24/7. And you will continue to create a relationship with that person that relies on that person to resolve and fix this issue that you haven't actually addressed and may not want to address. Now, that's this kind of abstract and ideal situation where we talk very extremely just to illustrate a point. But there is nuance here. I think it's okay to rely on someone to give you a hug and to rely on someone to support you and to validate you. But we cannot rely wholly on that process to be the only thing, like a crutch, to preventing us from actually growing and expanding. Because the growth and going through that pain and going through those challenges is what's going to awaken you to a much deeper sense of satisfaction in life, and also take you to a greater height. Because think of what you could do if you were more confident, more happy, and more self-loving. What could you do? What would you do differently? Don't you want that? Can you imagine a world in which you could do that? So we need to kind of like learn how to fill this feeling and fill this void. And I've kind of described it through my first story, but I'll give you an exercise to do. So it's very simple. I want you to imagine yourself, or close your eyes and listen to the feeling of the thing that feels scarcity, lack, some kind of uncompleteness. And then ask yourself, where within me is the part of myself that can show up for this version of me that can give exactly what it's asking for. Because it may not even have the words to fully express what it's asking for, but since you are going inside, you can use a language that is not just your native tongue, but also feeling and emotion and even physicality. So ask yourself that, search within your subconscious and within your mind and within your essence, your being, and ask for that. And then allow that part when it feels right. Just allow that part to step in and take care of that other piece and be the witness of seeing both of these things taking care and embracing each other. And validate that experience. I think that's the last part. Validate that experience. Don't say, oh, it's just my imagination, or maybe it's working or not. If you see that happen, it's happening. So just witness it, experience it, embrace it, and tell yourself this is a good thing and I should do this more. And the I should do this more is one subtle way of programming yourself to do it more, to give yourself more dopamine and serotonin from like this experience. And I'm all about recalibrating the self. So I hope that's helpful for you. This video was presented by or sponsored by my patrons. Thank you all for supporting me. And if you'd like to, you can hit that Patreon link down below. Also, grab my free book. It's on my website. I'll speak to you soon. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.